Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's a fun one. We are talking about 3 things that women tend to do to try to get men that do not work. And what I find really interesting about these 3 things is that women tend to look for these things in men. They, either consciously or subconsciously, will think that it also works for men in reverse because it works for them. But it could not be further from the truth. And this is just another example of why I think that women just need to have an understanding that men are different. If women actually understood and believed that men are different, they function differently than women, it would go a long ways. It would probably resolve a lot of mistakes that women make when it comes to men. Since we're only talking 3 things, I am going to go a little bit more in depth than what I usually do when it comes to these things. Starting with number 3, the mistake that women make is they make it into a competition. And how do they make it into a competition? Well, they will let you know that they have plenty of other men interested in them. There are different levels to this, of course. There's like the blatant, they tell you basically that, if you're not going to pursue them or if you're not going to do XYZ, well, they're going to move on to the next guy. They have a lineup, they have a ranking. Some will even be as bold to say that they have a roster. To a lesser extent, they might just mention men's names, without it being clear whether or not they are just friends or have been more than that, by involving social media, by posting pictures, selfies to grab men's attention. And she knows that you're going to see that. And so she interacts with comments. She entertains the comments. She entertains the likes. I'm talking about the very clear grab for attention type of post. It's the provocative post. The other fatal mistake that I think a lot of women make is they will talk about their exes and how their exes are still in their life. Even when a woman has like no intention of getting back together with her ex, like there's really nothing on her end to indicate that she really like wants to be with her ex, she will possibly make the mistake of using her ex and using that ex relationship and ongoing interactions with her and her ex as friends. They're just friends. But she'll highlight different interactions, different things that they're doing with their ex, possibly if they're like going to that extent of still seeing each other out in the real world. She will talk about those things to somebody that is potentially interested in her through the talking stages, because again, she thinks that in that way she is creating that competition, right? Like, here I am. I'm going to spend my time with whoever is asking for it. And if you're not asking for it, you're not asking me out, then I'm going to give my time and attention to this man or that man. See, you even can put a face and a name to him because I'm going to put it out on social media. But what women don't realize is that this is a mistake every single time, because a man will not think like a woman. A woman will think, when she is competing for a man against another woman, she will partake in that. It may even cause her to want that man even more when she sees that there's competition. I know it's really messed up, I think, psychologically. I think that a woman needs to be really emotionally mature and intelligent to fight against this like natural urge to want to compete for a man. And for those women that are just not emotionally intelligent or emotionally mature enough, they can fall into some really messed up scenarios, where they might be a woman that kind of only chases a man that is already taken, like a married man. And then she actually feels better about herself if a man chooses her over another woman. It's not as attractive to her if a man is completely single, doesn't do much. There's no other women that are very interested in him. She will not be as drawn to him. Now, let me clarify again, this is a type of woman that you wouldn't want anyways, guys. So please don't listen to this and think that you need to change your behavior or create this like fake presentation like you do have other women that are interested in you in order to get the interest of another woman. Don't take that from this message, please. So that's how women think. Okay, let's get into how men think of it. They don't want to compete. They don't want to think that you're already taken. They have more, honestly, more of a like a bro code. He does not want to step on another man's toes. Like if she really is more interested in his buddy over here, like he wants her to go that way. Like even if he's super interested in her, he's instantly downgraded in interest again once he finds out, once it's revealed that she is interested in his buddy. Men love a woman that is very interested and excited about him and him alone. It's also why men don't want to be the second or the third or the fourth on her roster. He doesn't even want to be number one if there's a roster. He only wants to be number one with no roster. He wants it to be him and him alone. And it is not because he's insecure and he can't handle the competition of all these other men. It has nothing to do with that. He doesn't want to put in all of this effort, which requires a lot of time and energy and resources, into a woman that could potentially just see the grass is greener and go the other way. Because let's be honest, especially through long-term relationships, if you're looking out like 5-10 years, at some point that man knows that another man somewhere in the picture is going to come along in her life. There's different degrees of this, of course, but whether it's somebody that she works with or is just a friend of hers that turns to potentially something more that she sees, at some point there's going to be a man that she meets that could be seen as better than the man that she is currently with. It's one of the riskiest things for a man is to put effort into a woman that is not loyal and does not respect her man. The second mistake that women make when trying to get a man is she will go on this self-improvement journey. Sounds great, right? But the mistake that she makes is that she only improves her looks. I see this time and time again where, yes, it's important to get healthy. And I think that after a breakup, it's essential, to really get healthy. And along with that, you're going to improve your looks, right? And exercise is also a great form of therapy. Essentially, it's good for your mental health. So I think that's why a lot of people turn to it. But the problem is when you stop there, when you only improve your health and your looks, you stop there. When there's a whole nother layer, improving your mental health in other ways and improving your personality and improving your character. Now, on the other hand, I think that men actually do a decent job at this when they go through a breakup. They are more all-inclusive. They work on everything about themselves because there's not that emphasis from society, honestly, on a man's looks compared to women's looks. So some of that is just environmental and it's conditioned. Women know that there's a lot of emphasis put on her looks, and I think that is true to a certain extent. But what they fall into is that they don't realize that there's a huge other aspect that men do look for, especially later in life, especially once men have been out in the dating world for some time. They do value attraction, right? They need to be attracted to the woman that they're interested in. That's part of it. But their attraction works a little bit differently. They tend to be more of a yes-no attraction. And so if he's attracted to you, he's attracted to you. Like, you don't have to be a 10. So there could be a woman out there, right? Goes through a breakup, whatever. She's re-entering the dating world. She might, for the sake of simplification, will rank her according to a number. I hate doing this, but it's just in theory. Let's say she's a 7 out of 10. Like most all men will go for that 7 out of 10. Let's just say that's where she starts. And then she goes through the breakup and then she becomes a 10 out of 10, right? She doesn't work on her personality. Her personality still is crap. A man that then meets her and, let's say he's a stand-up good man and he wants a long-term relationship, he is not going to choose that 10 out of 10 woman over an 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 woman that, may not look as great as the 10 out of 10. But if she has a better personality and characteristics that are more in line with his values, he's going to go for that 7 out of 10, even 6 out of 10, maybe even 5 out of 10 over that 10 out of 10 every time, especially if he's looking for that long term relationship. Of course, there's going to be exceptions of what he actually does based on what he wants. If he wants something only short term, of course he'll go for that 10 out of 10. But I think that all of you guys would agree. If you don't, tell me in the comments. But I think that most men would choose even that 5 out of 10 woman, as long as he's still attracted. He would choose that 5 out of 10 woman that has a good personality. Tell me if you disagree, but he would choose her every time over that 10 out of 10 woman with a bad personality. But why? Why? It's because men value peace, they value emotional connection, and a bad personality, bad characteristics, like those things are going to completely get in the way and prevent having the emotional connection, which in the end all actually limits intimacy. So a lot of women will make the mistake of thinking, if she's a 10 out of 10, that man's going to think that she's the best he's ever had, but that's not true. It really depends on how well they can connect, and that takes a lot more than physical attraction. And lastly, number one, another thing that women do to try to get a man that does not work is that they themselves will not put in effort. They will not reciprocate. And this is in attempts for that man to chase her, essentially, so that she feels like she's in this power position. She's basically then the one that gets to dictate whether the relationship even starts or when it may potentially end. I wonder sometimes if women just think that all men should just have like endless resources and they have this like endless energy. They don't understand how much it really takes from a man to plan things, to put out their resources, to pay for things, and even more than that, even if they're not going on all of these dates, for a man to just take on the mental toll of continuing a conversation, right? Where there's limited effort, limited reciprocity from a woman in her response to him. He is under the stress of continuing it and really creating almost that spark ahead of time and that interest in order to even get her out on a date. Even before that, he's having the conversation, talk about the stress in approaching a woman, whether it's in real life or whether that's on social media or whether that is on a dating app. In any case, there's a certain level of stress because a man knows that he might be rejected, especially in person, right? That rate of rejection is pretty darn high. So it takes a lot from a man to do those things. They've been trained to be okay with that because it's just kind of how things are. But the problem is when there's no reciprocity and even the simple basic things like conversation, right? So if a man's reaching out first, like, come on, like at least respond within a decent amount of time and just don't respond with only a ha 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 or an LOL without continuing the conversation. If a woman is doing that, if she's really making him chase without going towards him at all, what he's going to feel is he's putting in all this effort and there's not going to be like any payout. And I don't mean that like in a gross way, like he doesn't want to like just bed her or whatever, but there's going to be a payout that he's looking for, essentially, which is a relationship. If he's interested in a long-term relationship, serious relationship, that is his goal. So when he sees that he's not getting even a conversation back from her and, kind of feeling like he's gaining her interest, it's going to be difficult for him to want to continue that. Even if he's really attracted to her, even if he really likes her as a person, it doesn't matter because the number one thing is that he wants a woman that's interested in him. And he wants to be able to conversate with her and guarantee that she really actually knows who he is as a person. All right, guys, that's it. As always, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and I'll see you next week.